Hey friends, I wanted to tell you about a new program that I'm facilitating. It's online and video conference, so people around the world can join, although it'll be not as conducive for my European friends time-wise, but my Australian friends for sure. It's called Mud and Miracles. It will be meeting 3 times a month for 5 months starting in February, and I'll give you more details about times and things like that. It usually meets for about an hour and 3/4 each time. And what can I say about it that you might want to know about? Why Mud and Miracles? A lot of people would say that I'm into shadow work. I don't always love that term because it's not commonly understood. People have different ideas about it. But it makes sense that people think about me that way, that I write about that. That's because I tend to look under the surface of things, behind consciousness, around the corner of awareness. That means places where we can't see. Why is that? It's because the answers that we're aware of, that our conscious minds as a person, as a community, as a world, as a nation, as a group, the conscious mind looks places it already knows. I think it was Einstein who said something like, we can't solve deep problems without going a level deeper than the problem actually exists. We have to go beneath something. If you're worrying about your esteem, we have to go inside, underneath, and we find inner violence. If we want to go underneath your addictive tendencies, we want to go to things like hungers, as opposed to why you shouldn't be that way, and deep needs that want to get fulfilled but not so well through an addictive process. Or if you want to go beneath your relationship problems, we don't want to think, how can you be a better person, a more caring person, a better listening person only? We want to also look, what are you doing? What is that fulfilling? What motivates your way of being? What's trying to happen? What's trying to complete itself in your life? And those views are usually happening beneath the level of awareness where people aren't seeing. It means going down, I call that, whether it's into the underworld, however you look at that, beneath the level of awareness, that means in the darkness, in the shadow of the light. Right? Someone said, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow. The more we look, focus, meditate on certain things, unless it's resolvable that way, the more we blind ourselves to something going on underneath. I call that in the mud. Why also mud? Because it's dirty. It doesn't make sense. It's taboo. People don't want to go there. I don't want to look like a certain way. I don't look defensive. I don't look angry. I don't want to look overly sensitive. I want to look like I'm resolving traumas. I want to look better than that. So we get mud on ourselves, you could say. We go in there. Many people use the metaphor of the lotus flower growing in the mud. That's a beautiful metaphor. That's why I think of mud. And why miracles? One thing I know for sure, if there's anything I know about psychology and spiritual unfolding, there are other people who know many other things that I don't know, but it's one thing that I know. I know if you take a thing that's unpleasant, disturbs you, is symptomatic, you treat it as a pathology, something you'd like to get rid of. The one thing I know is if you look at that thing deeply enough, truly enough, so you're really seeing it, lovingly enough, so you're open to being moved by it, not being changing it, but it changes you. Am I open to my pattern changes me? Am I open to my difficulties changing me? That's what I mean by love. Love says, change me, impact me. I'm not only here to change you, I'm here in a relationship. I'll try to change you, but change me also. If you look at something and put enough awareness and that love on it in that witnessing, something happens. A thing that looked like a static, difficult problem starts to move and shift. It doesn't look solid anymore. It doesn't look like my anxiety. It's not looking like this thing, and it's living in the body, and it creates movements in my chest, and then it moves into my eyes, and then it freezes me, and then it moves. It's a living, organic thing. And when I say that word organic, it's so important. Organic means It grows if it's nourished. So you take these difficult and disturbing, annoying, problematic things, and you put this loving awareness, this witnessing that I'm talking about that has a loving relationship. And what happens? An organic process that gets stopped begins to unfold. And it flowers, it unfolds. It's as if in our problem is something infolded. It's in there. And then we put something awareness on it, and then inside there's like a seed. And it opens up, and there we find something flowering into what? Into our intelligence, into our sensitivities and feelings, into our emotional capacities, into our spiritual realms and depths, into our gifts, into our best selves. To me, that's a miracle, an absolute miracle. This program is not only a training, there'll be some training and education and modeling of different methods and ideas, dream work methods, working somatically. You'll learn about methods like that. If you're a healer or a therapist, you want to learn more about that, you'll see some of those things modeled, and we'll talk about it. You can have questions about that. Whew, I'm talking too fast. I was holding my breath. Movement methods, working with sound and healing, working with nighttime dreams, working with inner dynamics and inner conversations and role plays, all kinds of different methods you'll learn. But the group will also have a form a little bit more like a group than a training, so people will be interacting with each other. I'll always and every night work with somebody, one or two, focus on them, teach methods, help an individual, talk about that. Sometimes there'll be 2 or 3 people. I'll give 10, 15-minute periods of work. Sometimes it'll be a 20 or 30-minute period of work so that one person gets the focus, and if they want it, of course, if that's a consent issue, so that they can learn more about themselves, and we can all learn off of the specific example. So I can take people down into that mud territory and reveal a miracle. I hope that can happen. It usually does, especially with the awareness of a group. There's already enough people signed up, and I know those people, they're good folks, so I'm happy about that. But the group dynamic, the group holding, the learning off of each other, that makes also an organic process that's not only led by my plan each time, but led by the movement of the spirit, the people, the things that arise that move people. I do have a tentative teaching, I'm going to call it, organizational principle for, in addition to the skills, for the evenings, and I'm calling them different gateways. And the first one I'm calling the gateway to self-love. That means learning about shame. For me, clearing shame, working with shame, healing shame is critical if you want to learn self-love, because shame wraps itself around that stuff, that seed. It creates the mud in some way, although not a nourishing one, and shame doesn't let us see it. So that first month, more or less, the first 3 sessions, we'll be talking about shame, working with shame. People will be bringing up issues. I'll be modeling things. That'll be the first month as an organizational principle, a gateway to self-love. And then the second month, it'll be gateways to empowerment. We'll be talking about power and empowerment, what your powers are. Are they muscular? Are they flowers? Are they tenderness? Are they sensitivities? Are they circuitousness? Are they brilliance? Are they creativity? What your powers are like and why you need them in order to make your life move forward. If you want to follow an individuation path, a path that's unique to yourself, then you'll need to go against the grain of beliefs you've internalized or beliefs in families and cultures and communities. And to get to that part of you, that individual, that unique individual, you're going to need some power to resist, to deal with, to unfold, to soften the edges so you can begin to present yourself. So the second month will be gateway to empowerment. The third month is gateways to vulnerability, sensitivity, and heart. Because in addition to our power or force, there's a vulnerability in each person. That vulnerability means, what's it like to be seen? Can you be hurt? What are you acutely sensitive to? That's not a pathology, a problem, but part of your gifts. Learning about those parts of ourselves, how we interact with ourselves in the world, what touches us, moves us, makes our tears flow, makes our body go ouch. Those kinds of things to learn about and connect with our vulnerability. So the third month will be gateways to vulnerability. The fourth will be gateways to the gift in the wound. I said something about that already in the idea that inside there's a difficulty, there's a seed. So we'll be talking more about what you might be calling your wounds. These are my deep wounds, my lifetime wounds. And then we're going to look at those in terms of healing, making them easier to negotiate with for yourself. But then we're going to be looking at what hides in there, what's in the mud of that wound. Certain gifts, what are those gifts you have? How do they need to be lived in the world? How is living those gifts part of your healing? Not just getting over difficulties, but the flowering of your unique self so it expresses itself in the world. And the last month will be gateways to your path of heart. What's my direction in life? Do I go left or right? What does it look like when I travel myself, my own authentic path? I call that a path of heart that comes from Carlos Castaneda, the shaman in his book, Don Juan, calls it a path of heart. He says to Carlos says, which is the right path? And Don Juan says, there's no right path or wrong path, but there is your path of heart. So people have a path that they follow, and it's so important to our uniqueness, our authenticity, everything we do, to know something about our path. Even if you're doing something intelligent, that's healing, that's useful, that's service, that's all these things, if it's not your unique path, if it's someone else's, if it's your teacher's, if it's mine, if it's something that's not, or something that's accommodated to a culture that's not right, there's a kind of an abuse of your nature that happens in that. So anyway, those might not go as quite in that order, that organization, but they'll be on my mind, and there'll be plans and thoughts about how to bring that in. Gateways to self-love and clearing shame, gateways to empowerment, gateways to vulnerability and your sensitivities in the world, and gateways to your gift inside the wound, and gateways to the path of heart. And then there are things that will arise that I won't know about until the class forms. Anyway, if that interests you, personal message me. I'd love to talk to you about questions you have of any kind. I think we have 6 people signed up. I think I'm going to close it at 10. So let me know. Hope this interests you. It's, again, called Mud and Miracles, starting in February, 5 months. Take care, friends. Thanks for hearing me out, sharing the information with other people. I appreciate it.